It was one of the most dangerous prison riots in recent New Mexico history. Yet, it's never been publicized. But now the secret is out, and he was captured on camera.
Tonight, News 13 investigative reporter Larry Barker shows us the never-before-seen video of a monumental inmate uprising involving one of the state's most notorious serial killers.
I was extremely outraged that these breaches occurred under our watch.
This is the very kind of breach that causes people to die.
This was being operated like a preschool in terms of security.
September 23rd last year. It's a quiet evening on cell block 3 at the Northeast New Mexico prison. But hang on, all hell is about to break loose. What happened that night was explosive, but it's been kept under wraps for months. A News 13 investigation finds a host of sloppy, reckless security blunders at this privately run prison outside Clayton led to the most significant New Mexico inmate uprising in the last 20 years.
What happened that evening was unacceptable.
Secretary David Jablonski oversees the state's prison system. On that night, was that a safe facility?
That night, with these violations that occurred, no. There was major security breaches, so it wasn't safe.
Santa Fe attorney Mark Donatelli led the public defender's Riot defense team following the 1980 Santa Fe prison uprising. He reviewed documents relating to the Clayton incident.
Larry, I had to read these documents over and over because I couldn't comprehend what I was reading, that so many things could have gone so wrong at so many levels for so long.
The Northeast Prison Complex is operated for the state by a private company, the Geo Group. 625 medium security inmates are housed here. Cell Block 3 is reserved for violent or disruptive inmates who pose security threats. At 9:05 p.m. on September 23rd, Correctional Officer Matt Schreiner strolls the Cell Block 3 catwalk. He pauses at a locked cell, reaches in the door slot, and is handed contraband. Schreiner then surreptitiously passes it to an inmate next door. Moments later, the young security guard stops at cell 203 to chat with one of the most dangerous inmates in the entire prison system. You probably know his name. Clifton Bloomfield is a notorious serial killer who was sentenced to 195 years after he murdered 5 people in Albuquerque 10 years ago. A few words are exchanged, and then inexplicably, Schreiner unlocks Bloomfield's cell door. Why? Well, Schreiner later told investigators he just didn't remember allowing the convicted killer out of his cell. Bloomfield jumps the unarmed guard and overpowers him. With a shank at his neck, the prison guard is taken hostage. Bloomfield grabs Schreiner's keys and proceeds to unlock cell doors. Schreiner is able to break away. He dashes down steps to the first floor, grabs his walkie-talkie, and runs for help. With keys to the entire 40-man cell block and no guards, the inmates take control. Cell doors are unlocked, and some of the most dangerous prisoners in the state go on a rampage. The main entry door is barricaded. Some prisoners use their newfound freedom to settle scores. One inmate, a suspected informant, is assaulted in his cell, his throat slashed. Other inmates disable the prison's surveillance cameras. They start a fire and trash the cell block. The prison's riot response team assembles outside. They flood the cell block with tear gas and flash grenades. About an hour after the uprising began, prison security dressed in riot gear gained control. The entire cell block is declared a crime scene. Inmates are rounded up, handcuffed, and escorted one by one to the prison's day room. The inmate who was attacked is found in cell 109 unconscious in a pool of blood. Officers drag him out and call an ambulance. Ringleader Clifton Bloomfield is handcuffed and escorted out of the trashed cell block to the medical unit. The prison complex is placed on lockdown. and a Department of Corrections investigation is launched.
So what went wrong that night? Well, at the top of the list, prison understaffing. According to the state investigation, staff vacancies at the GEO Group's Clayton facility are, quote, dangerously inadequate. On September 23rd, 20 staff members were required to fully secure the prison. 12 of those positions were mandatory. That night, however, only 9 correctional officers were present. That night, they had less than half of the required staffing at that facility. Is that correct?
Correct.
When was the last time that they were fully staffed?
From my tenure as secretary, I've never seen them fully staffed that facility.
How is that acceptable?
It's not acceptable. It's dangerous practice.
It's not only dangerous, it's expensive. In fact, private prisons are assessed substantial penalties for failure to maintain minimum staffing. Over the last year, the GEO Group has paid New Mexico more than $1.3 million in penalties for failing to provide enough security to keep this facility safe.
On the evening of September 23rd, the only correctional officer on duty in Cell Block 3 was the inexperienced Matt Schreiner. When he unlocked Clifton Bloomfield's cell door, he had no backup, no walkie-talkie, and he carried the keys to every cell in the cell block.
How do you allow an untrained, inexperienced rookie officer to go into the most dangerous portion of your prison without adequate backup, without a radio, with all the keys to the unit? I don't understand that.
When you're dealing with violent inmates, you always have a 2-man escort. And this is just proof, based on this incident, why you want a backup or a 2-man escort when you're dealing with these inmates so you don't get overpowered. The decision that officer made that evening really jeopardized the security of that whole facility, and it could have been a lot worse.
I'm not sure how the Corrections Department decided that a prisoner with 5 murder convictions could be housed safely at this facility. Someone blew it when they decided that someone that dangerous could be housed at that facility.
The day after the uprising, Clifton Bloomfield was transferred to the state pen in Santa Fe. Matt Schreiner resigned and has since moved to Texas. He did not respond to our request for an interview. The inmate that was brutally attacked in his cell recovered from his injuries. Northeast Prison Warden Mark Bowen refused to discuss the incident and referred questions to the GEO Group corporate office. A spokeswoman for GEO said she would get back to us. She did not. A criminal investigation of the September 2017 incident has been turned over to the Union County District Attorney. Charges are expected to be filed in the next 2 months.
It's totally unacceptable.
Senator Cisco McSorley serves on the Legislative Courts, Corrections, and Justice Committee.
Bottom line, what do you want from GEO?
They say that they're in the business of keeping our prisons safe and secure, and they're not doing it.
It's no way to run a prison if you're serious about protecting staff, prisoners, and the public. It doesn't matter how much training and retraining you do at the facility in response to this. If you don't have enough officers in the first place to run the prison safely, things are going to happen again in the future.
Larry Barker, KRQE, News 13.
If you would like to see the surveillance video from last September's prison riot, go to always on krqe.com.